What should I do if I have made a number of moves in my career? Should I mention it on my resume or try to hide it? Okay, that's a great question, Mike. So you may remember what I talked about a couple of days ago with Alan, who lied about still being at a company. And I think I said at the time, not so much honesty is the best policy. Honesty really is the only policy. You may not necessarily be talking about sort of disguising anything. I think it really depends, Mike, on what your situation is. So if you've made a number of moves because you are a contractor, then I would maybe put at the top of that section of your career between, say, 2015 and 2018, let's say that's when you did all the moves, various positions as a self-employed contractor or whatever, and then kind of list them. If you moved and these were permanent roles, I would be just straight with people, say what they were and when you did them, and write underneath each one the reason why you left, okay? I think particularly because of COVID, there's going to be a lot of people now and going into next year that will have short-term hops on their resume, and that's perfectly normal and I think perfectly acceptable. And I think if you want to distinguish yourself away, or so I shall say, differentiate yourself away from being a job hopper, then you need to explain why you've made the moves that you have. Okay, it's interesting. I remember having a conversation with an HR director. It was just a couple of months ago, specifically about this, and they agreed that just because somebody's made a number of moves doesn't mean that they're necessarily a job hopper. For example, somebody could be very, very happy in a job and have been there for, say, 4 or 5 years and have a perfect resume of stability. Then, for whatever reason, maybe the company goes out of business or they get acquired or whatever, and suddenly this person finds themselves in a position where they have to move. They've got a mortgage to pay, they've got a family to provide for, and they have to make a job move in haste. So they don't have the luxury of being able to be too selective. Okay, so they go to maybe the first thing that comes along, or don't necessarily spend the time that they would otherwise want to find the ideal or perfect job. And 3, 4, 6, 8 weeks later, they're like, okay, this isn't really what I wanted. They stick it out for another month or two and then go, okay, this really isn't what I wanted. And then they move, but again, they're moving out of haste. So now, let's say another 3, 6 months later, they could be in another situation, and maybe they went to a company that everything looked fine, but maybe the finances weren't right, or maybe the product wasn't ready, or whatever. There were some unforeseen problems that maybe had they had the time or the opportunity to really investigate it, they could have figured it out, but they didn't. So maybe they have to move again. And it could be that over the course of, say, a 2-year period, they've had to make 3 moves, or they've made 2 and they're looking for the 3rd. Now, if somebody doesn't take the time to understand that, they're going to look at them and go, oh, it's a shame that we didn't talk 2 years ago. You had a perfect background then. Well, if I've had 5 years at one company and 4 years before that, just because I'm looking now to make my 3rd job move in a year, doesn't make me a job hopper. So, Mike, I know it's kind of a long answer to a short question. The truth is, it really depends on the circumstances. But fundamentally, be honest. Never, ever lie on either your resume or on LinkedIn. Because at the end of the day, if you're dishonest in how you present yourself to a company, when they find out, and they will, there's going to be no coming back from it. Your credibility will be ruined.